Hello there. Join me in this little visual. You just finished a huge project, maybe nailed a presentation, possibly praised by your boss or a challenging client. And for about 47 seconds, you feel glorious, a glorious 47 seconds of achievement. And then your brain goes, okay, so what's next? What am I forgetting? What am I behind on? What do I need to do now? Okay, yes. Not along if you feel me. If you are an eraser of your accomplishments the second they happen, this episode is for you. I have to laugh because it's me. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly what success amnesia is, why your ADHD brain does this, and the tres specific practices that can rewire this pattern so that your wins actually stick. A sticky win, solid. Not theory, we're going to talk about actual tools. So let's see what's what. I had a client late diagnosed at 38 who told me she'd been promoted 3 times in 5 years, yet still felt like she was faking it. Every accomplishment erased from her memory the second it was completed. After we'd worked together on rewiring that success amnesia for quite some time, not gonna lie, I remember that she said to me, for the first time in my life, I can actually see what I have done. I am not starting from zero anymore. What? It's a big deal. So that's what's possible when you understand how your brain works and stop fighting it. Stop optimizing when honestly, it's already fairly optimized, just unseen by its owner. So, how do you like those apples? I'm Viki. I coach late diagnosed ADHD women through the messy middle of transformation. So, let us talk about why your brain erases your wins and what the heck to do about it. Not what the heck. I didn't even get to the end of any of those words, but LOL at me. Success amnesia is exactly what it sounds like. It is when you achieve something, accomplish something, create something really delicious, complete something particularly difficult, hey, or not. And your brain immediately erases it, forgets it, act like it never happened. I do believe Jesse J. Anderson popularized this term, success amnesia, but the phenomenon is not new, okay? The idea is you don't hold on to the win, you don't internalize the accomplishment. Oop, that was my watch. You don't build evidence that you're capable or competent or even doing well. What happens is instead, you move immediately to what's next, what did I miss, what's still undone, the list, right? The never ending list. I'll give you a real example from my own Lizzie. Lizzie means life in this case. I do that a lot. Ugh. God, I'm in the sunlight in just a way that I see every single dust particle. Okay. A few years ago, I finished facilitating an in-person workshop that I'd been preparing for weeks to college age students. It went beautifully, like not without a hitch. It went beautifully. The feedback was glowing. I was glowing, right? People were coming up to me afterward telling me how it changed their thought about this or that, their mindset shifted. Some even pulled me aside to talk more about their own personal, bless you. There you have it. There is working from home. Their own struggles along the topic lines, essentially. And I mean, for a facilitator, this was an absolute home run, okay? On the drive home, I kid you not, my brain was already obsessing about the next thing I felt I needed, because everything is a need, to be nailing. Because of course I must nail everything. I do, or else I am not good enough ever, says who? I don't know. The workshop, gone, erased, filed under complete. What else am I supposed to do? About a week later, I remember when I got together with some girlfriends and we reviewed, some recent joyous happenings. We just went over some of the good stuff. I didn't even mention the whole glowing workshop chapter of my life. I forgot. And thus there it lived, in the forgotten back of my mind, shelved deeply away in my mind palace, if I may copy Sherlock. And that, my friends, is success amnesia in action. And for the late diagnosed ADHD woman, it's not occasional. This is fairly constant. Additionally, due to the late diagnosis, many of us are mostly unaware that this is part of our chemical wiring and not necessarily our lack of competence, dare I shout, which I won't because you can see the walls in my space thin. Success amnesia is rooted in working memory deficits, and these affect 75 to 81% of people with ADHD. Windows open, okay. As noted by Koffler et al., I did that citation in the show notes, okay? I'm sorry about that. For instance, you get the promotion and immediately focus on how you're going to mess it up. You finish the project at 100% with even excellent feedback to boot and can only see the parts that were not perfect. You receive genuine praise and your brain dismisses it, this one's mine, as people being nice or not knowing the real you or just appeasing you to, I don't know what, why would they? I don't really know. Nothing sticks, nothing accumulates. You never build a reservoir of evidence that you're actually doing more than okay. You're pretty smart and good at stuff. Instead, you're starting from zero every single day, proving yourself over and over again, never getting credit for what you've already done from you. Your number one fan, that's what I'm talking about. And I think here's what most people don't understand. It's been a few days since I had my wash. What can I say? Doing the best I can. It's not about low self-esteem or negative thinking. It has neurological underpinnings, sorry to say. This is how ADHD brains are wired. And once you understand that, you can actually adventure with it. There it comes again, adventuring with ADHD, my favorite. So why does this happen? Why do our brains do this? There are a few reasons at hand. They layer on top of each other. Quick sip of the green tea. First, ADHD and working memory. ADHD brains have challenges with working memory. That's the part of your brain which holds information temporarily while you're using it. It's holding it in different places, right? It's also the part that allows you to recall things that just happened, names, when you're being introduced, right? When you accomplish something, the neurotypical brain naturally encodes that experience as a positive memory. It may even get celebrated. It definitely gets stored and it becomes part of their evidence that they are competent and capable and so on. ADHD brains do not do this efficiently. We do it, it's just different and slower. The accomplishment happens and then it's like your brain immediately dumps it to make room for the next thing. So I don't have any more space in my brain, so it's got to get out. It doesn't stick around long enough to become internalized evidence. So you think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to hold water in your hands. Neurotypical brains have a cup. ADHD brains have a colander or a strainer. All the water just comes right through. So neurologically, you are already working with a brain that does not naturally hold on to wins the way that other brains do. Interessante. Secondly, negativity bias is amplified in ADHD brains. Every human has negativity bias. We are wired to remember threats more than rewards because evolutionarily that kept us alive, to be aware and vigilant. Not this car. What is going on out there? Yet research shows that ADHD brains have an even stronger negativity bias. We're more attuned to what went wrong than what went right. Or we change things so that it seems like it went wrong, even if it did go right. We scan for problems, for mistakes, for things we need to fix, which means that even when something goes well, your brain's more likely to zoom in on the one tiny thing that did not perfectly fit, even though 47 other things did. That similar, I find this to be a similar principle to when you finally get to a deep house clean. Someone comes over and they're complimenting you on how clean the house is and how wonderful it is. And all you can do is hone in on every single dust particle that you can see, like I just told you about my dust particles, disregarding all the hard work and focus it took to do the deep clean. I've been procrastinating on the deep clean for months and I finally did it. Okay. So we'll move to thirdly. We've got good old masking and compensation. So if you're late diagnosed, you may have spent decades compensating for a brain difference you didn't even know you had. You may have labeled yourself as this and that without knowing something else was going on. Thus, you worked twice as hard to get the same results as everyone else. Here, here. You developed most likely elaborate systems to keep yourself organized. The way I did my notes for studying was crazy. You white knuckled your way through tasks that felt impossible. And when you succeeded, you did not think, I'm capable and smart and I'm good at this. You thought, I barely pulled that off. Or I got lucky. Or if they knew how hard that was for me, they would know I'm a fraud and I'm not good at this. Success didn't feel like evidence of your capability. It felt like evidence that you'd successfully hidden your struggle once again. Can I get a here on that one? So your brain learned not to celebrate wins. It learned to stay vigilant, to keep scanning for the next threat, to never let your guard down. Because letting your guard down meant people might see the real you, the one who's barely holding it together, and we don't want that. Ah, yeah. Lastly, we would be remiss not to mention trauma and survival mode. A lot of late diagnosed ADHD women have experienced some form of trauma. Maybe relational trauma from being told you're too much or too little or not enough. Could be academic, from constantly being compared to neurotypical peers, or maybe people said you were dumb. Maybe medical trauma from being dismissed or misdiagnosed for years. And so on into the depths of little and big T traumas. When your nervous system is in survival mode, it doesn't have the capacity to celebrate. It is focused on threat detection. Wins do not register as wins. They register as temporary relief before the next threat. And good Lord, I could say it again. Your nervous system literally cannot hold on to success when it is too busy scanning for danger. It's crazy when you think about it. So let me repeat. Your nervous system literally cannot hold on to success when it is busy scanning for danger. And for the neurodivergent brain, so much of our world is danger that we perceive. So who cares? Why should you care about success amnesia beyond, oh, that's interesting? I might say because success amnesia keeps you stuck in a very specific kind of suffering, if I may be so bold. It erodes self-trust, which is always the first pillar we delve into in a coaching relationship with me, because I find that self-trust is the foundation. That's the foundational work, period. When you cannot remember your own wins, you cannot build evidence that you are capable of handling things. Okay. Every new challenge feels like starting from scratch. You don't trust yourself because you genuinely cannot recall the last 47 times you did actually figure it out. Obviously, this fuels imposter syndrome. You feel like a fraud because your brain literally erases the evidence that you are not a fraud. You accomplished the thing, but your brain will not let you claim it. So you walk around feeling like you're one mistake away from being exposed, even when objectively you have not only survived 100% of the most difficult things ever in your life, but you most likely learned something and even thrived. It makes burnout inevitable. If nothing you do ever counts, you never get to rest and rejuvenate. You are always behind, always proving yourself, always starting from zero. Clearly, this is not sustainable. It is a straight path to burnout. I've been there many a time. It keeps you dependent on external validation when you can't internalize your own wins. You become dependent on other people telling you you're doing okay, and you still don't believe those people. But it's just, we just get stuck in these cycles of seeking validation that never quite lands because it's not us telling us. It robs us of joy. We deserve to feel good about what we accomplish. We deserve to pause and acknowledge our effort. I mean, look at me. Aside from this bare wall, because I'm just moving into my new house, I've never had, for example, my University of Maryland degree on my wall. I've never even seen it. And just recently, as I was doing this episode, actually, I thought that would be a good stretch for me personally, is to reorder that degree and frame it and put it on the wall. So that's one idea. So what the hell do you actually do about this? How might you rewire a pattern that's been running your entire life? Okay. I'm going to give you 3 suggestions. You do with them what you will. Firstly is anchoring your wins in your body, not just our intellectualization. My favorite people, neurodiverse, love to be up here. Your brain might erase the accomplishment, but your body can and will hold it if you allow it to. The body holds way more than you give it credit. Here's how it can work. I see I got really excited because I got a little loud there. Let me just adjust this for you. The next time you complete something, finish something, accomplish something, don't just move on to the next thing. Train yourself to pause. Literally stop. Whatever you're doing. Put your hand on your heart. I want to touch the mic. Or your belly. Feel your body. Notice what's going on there. And then you get to say out loud, I did that shit. This counts. Cherry on top, how can I celebrate myself right now? The thing is, you don't have to believe it yet. You don't have to feel good about it. Just stating the fact. I did do the thing, and it does count. Then notice what sensations are happening in your body in those places. Is there warmth? Is there tightness? Is there openness? Is there lightness? Is there heaviness? Is there a gurgle? What's going on? You're not trying to feel a certain way. You're just anchoring the moment in your body so it has somewhere to land besides your unreliable working memory. Give it a place to go. Let it be for 30 seconds. That's it. Your body remembers what your brain forgets. Use it, okay? And your celebration, that could be anything. Maybe proudly telling someone, cheekily getting that second cuppa, which would usually be mine. Maybe it goes into your happy folder. Maybe you allow yourself 10 minutes of uninterrupted you time. And if you're listening to this and you think, I want help actually implementing this into my life, not just knowing about it, that's cool. This is, of course, what I do in my one-on-one coaching with late diagnosed ADHD women, typically who I work with, not only. We don't just talk about the nervous system and regulation and self-trust. We practice it amongst many other things. We build it, we make it stick. That's the long and short of that. Okay. So let us move forward. Okay, things are coming up. Why? I record on my phone and the things are coming up. I would also just mention, if you're interested in a masterclass, it's free. That's also in the show notes. Okay, practice number 2. of 3. Creating external evidence you can actually see. Visibility is key. Since your brain will not hold on to wins, you need something outside of your brain to hold them for you. That makes sense. I have my clients keep what I call a cookie jar because it has goodies in it. At a cadence that they choose, I prefer weekly or monthly. We take 5 minutes to review roses, buds, and thorns from that previous week or month. And then I place those into my digital cookie jar. There's a link in the description if you would like a template for that. Or maybe it's a clear, literal jar in your environment, and you can place physical colored Post-its into, for example, all the roses are pink or something. They don't have to be big. Got to inbox 0, made lunch, didn't spiral when the thing happened, responded differently to my sister. Small counts, mundane counts, survival counts. Write it down every day if you want to stretch yourself and get into a new habit. Why? Because 2 weeks from now, when your brain is telling you you never get anything done, you're dumb, you're behind, you can pull out that or empty that list of actual evidence that in fact you do. Your brain lies to you, the list does not. Future you will be very happy with now you. Keep it simple. Stay consistent with your chosen cadence. That's the practice. One of my clients told me after a month of doing this practice, I looked back at the jar and realized I'd accomplished more in 4 weeks than I thought I'd done in 6 months. My brain had been lying to me the whole time. That's what external evidence does. Shows you the truth that your brain won't hold. Okay, finding ways to adventure with what we've got. Okay, third practice, reframing what counts as success. This is the biggie. The one that can change everything if you let it. That's really the thing. You have to let some things happen here. You've been measuring success by neurotypical standards your entire life. Productivity, output, perseverance, how much you get done, how pooped you are by the end of the day. Chronic burnout, you're nailing it at work. But for ADHD brains, it's a rigged game. I mean, really, it's a rigged game. You're never going to win by those rules. So change the rules. Whoa, what an idea. Success for an ADHD brain isn't just about what you accomplished. It can also be about emotionally regulating when you started to spiral or ruminate, asking for help instead of white knuckling solo, choosing rest when your body needed it. Hello, catnaps. Saying no to something that would have depleted your energy. How about measuring by energy? Showing up to your practices like the cookie jar, especially when it's hard. These are all wins. These all count. If the only thing you did today was not abandon yourself, that is a success. That gets to be written down. If you paused and took 3 breaths instead of reacting from dysregulation, claim that success. If you reframed an old, deserving thought to something more momentous, this counts. Hello. We measure it all. As I tend to say with coaching clients, or anybody really, we measure in the noticings, which my coach taught me. Shout out. Redefine what success means for your brain, your nervous system, your life. And then start noticing when you're actually succeeding by your own standards. Of course, I had many clients beating themselves up because she only got 2 things done on her to-do list for that one single day. But when we reframed it, she realized she also regulated through a panic moment, set a boundary with her mother, chose rest instead of pushing through exhaustion, and was able to cook a meal from scratch for her family. That's mad wins. Not even 2 that were on her list. The work is not doing more. The work is seeing what you're already doing and letting it count. This was a big deal for me. Success amnesia is real. It is neurological. It is compounded by trauma and masking and a lifetime of trying to fit into systems that were not designed for your brain. But it is not permanent. You can rewire it. When I say rewire, I mean neurologically, not by trying harder to remember, but by anchoring wins in the body, creating externalized evidence, by redefining what success actually means for you. Your brain might erase your accomplishments, but you don't have to participate in that anymore. You did the thing. It counts. You get to claim it. Bingo, bango, whatever the third one is. So If you're a late diagnosed ADHD woman or any woman who's tired of starting from zero every day, who actually wants to build some self-trust instead of constantly seeking external validation, this is the work. This is the work that you have to do. If you want support, I'm always around. If you haven't grabbed it yet, my cookie jar is in the description, wherever that is. It's a template that helps you get started with stacking your wins and making them visible. It is a digital template, so if you want to do the real world way, beautiful. If you want to work with me one-on-one to rewire some of those patterns, like success amnesia, build your regulation toolkit, maybe develop some actual self-trust, I've got a few coaching spots opening up, right? Book a vibe check call. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to be, and how we'll get there. So everything's in the description. Let's be honest. If this episode was supportive for you, share it with someone else. Consider subscribing. Let's make the visible more visible. So check you next week. Ciao for now.